That's loud.
Sounds great.
It's good and
Is it
loud.
loud for you? Oh, okay.
That's just a big band.
Sounds great. Swinging.
Thank you. Yeah, that's Daniel Rodham on tenor. You probably know some of these players.
Probably.
Oh yeah, you got Aaron Janik on there and Meshalam.
I can't hear you very well yet. Hold on one second. Woo.
Give me a moment here. I'm gonna shut this door.
Woo. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Stupid.
Give it up for
Yeah.
Ito Meshalam, trombone. Aaron Janik, trumpet.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
I realize I'm wearing the same shirt as in the video. No, I don't have several copies of this.
Well, even if you did, it would be okay, you know.
Yeah, I should kind of brand it or something, but
That's funny.
yeah.
Wow. Slamming, man. That was so good. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my guest, Marlon Martinez. And gosh, I think let's see, I think we said we knew each other or something. But anyway, I heard you at the LA Athletics Club backing up well, playing and also backing up Barbara Morrison. And I was like, what? This is so good, you know? So great. It's slamming. You're writing, you're arranging, your playing is great. And you're using, you know, great players and it's totally swinging. It's just wonderful, wonderful stuff.
Thank you so much. We had a great time. Barbara Morrison, geez, wow, like
Isn't she great?
it's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
is the real professional. It's
It
just,
was an honor. Yeah, we never
uh,
worked together before, you know, and I guess I was looking for the opportunity, and when it came up, and I said, well, what about Barbara Morrison? And David
oh.
Ross said, yes, do that. The audience would love her. I said, well, great, easy. Let's just put this together. And she was so natural to work with too. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like she's a type of artist where it's like, I feel like I've known her forever, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
I was very surprised to find that I feel like she felt that way about me too. And I was kind of like, whoa, she just has that kind of spirit and that kind of energy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. She's the real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to see people, experience people who are that kind of connection. And I guess it's kind of old school connection. Like another favorite of Dave's, who's also an old school connection, is Mary Stallings. Are you familiar with her?
Sort of familiar. I don't know
She's
the music
incredible.
too well. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if you get another opportunity to do something and you need a different singer, Mary Stallings, you can actually see her with Emmett Cohen on one of his
Okay.
shows. She's like old school, but um, she's, I can't say enough wonderful things about her. She's so natural and really
Wow.
from that headspace, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
very authentic, you know. She sang with Count Basie for 5 years.
Right. That's where
Yeah,
I'm hearing the name. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Wonderful. Well,
yeah,
I'll look her up then. I need to.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just really wonderful. So, gosh, we have, let me just say this first. We have a bunch of people already on. Oh, and this is a very auspicious date, 2/22/22.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think of that.
I think everybody should go buy a sweepstakes ticket today. I really
Yeah.
do.
Someone's gonna win something today.
I think so. And what's more, you are number 401.
Wow.
It's pretty
Cool.
cool.
Sweet. I need to wear a jersey 401.
Really, I should send you a jersey.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
yesterday was a bass player from Boston, a
Was it
friend of
Bruce?
mine. Yeah, Bruce Gertz. Yeah,
I don't know him personally, but I love his work, and
too.
I used to read through his book a lot. The one called Walking.
Oh yeah,
Walking. It's a good bass player's book. Fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
was his first book, I think he said.
Like early on,
Yeah,
yeah, with the DVD and everything.
yeah, yeah. He's such a nice guy and he's so prolific, you know. He's
Oh
really
man.
does a lot. He keeps you know, he's always, ever since I've known him, which has been a long, long time, he's always picked really good players to play with. And, you know, as he said, and we can talk about this too, you know, bass players, 90% of the time, he said 99.9, but 90% of the time are sidemen, right?
Right, right.
And so to be the leader and the leader of the band, and I'd like to actually just start by asking you about that. Like, what made you decide to step out and be a leader?
I saw when I was let's see, when I was 13, I saw Stanley Clarke live, and that kind of, honestly, that kind of did it for me. Um, because I saw a kind of energy and a level of artistry and a sound and a style, and it was such a niche, and the audience was resonating to everything he was doing on the bass,
Yeah.
and it was like people were moved by the bass lines, people were moved by the solos, people were moved by the charisma, people were moved by all that. But I found it so fascinating that a bass player could get out there and do that, and to be able to play both the sideman role and to call the shots, and to write original music and give the cues, that was just so thrilling. So I wanted to investigate in that and digging into the history of bass players who were leaders, and digging down, going down the path, down a rabbit hole. Uh, geez, I mean, all the way back in jazz history, particularly, and I just,
Who are some of the early guys? I mean, obviously Ray Brown, but
yeah, Ray Brown. Well, let's see. Well, we know. Okay, I'm gonna have to think here. We all know that Mingus had his big
right,
band that's still
Mingus, of
going
course.
on. But before him, um, there's Ray Brown. There's Jimmy Blanton was not a band leader, but he always stood at the front. And his playing was always kind of like the forefront.
Hmm.
I've heard a lot of radio broadcasts with the Ellington Orchestra in the early '40s, and
Huh.
I noticed they always have Jimmy Blanton way up in the mix.
Oh,
And
wow.
whenever it was,
Interesting.
they'd be playing tunes and playing changes, but I feel like every bass line that he was playing was a solo of some sort,
Yeah, yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
an anchor, and it's more of something that I heard rather than saw, because clearly we don't have enough footage, of
Yeah.
players like Scotty LaFaro or
Hmm.
Oscar Pettiford. He
Hmm.
was doing things early on with the bass and the cello, and heading his own groups. Um,
I mean,
I don't know,
Charlie Hayden,
Charlie
but
Hayden, of
that's, yeah,
course.
but that's a little
Yeah,
later.
yeah, a little later in that sphere, and you have Ron Carter with his
Yeah.
different configurations, and his cello work and his piccolo bass stuff, and just I just really loved all that history, and finding that there is a place for the leadership quality type of bass player. You know what I mean? Because they're like
Yeah, that's
different.
pretty exciting, actually.
Yeah, I kind of feel that like all bass players, we have a command and a call to leadership, from a technical musical standpoint. But I also feel that, as we all know, I think we have personalities, leader
Yeah.
personalities. I hate the word follower personalities, but like there's leaders, followers. There's like people who enjoy, I think at best, serving the greater good. Maybe helping out,
Yeah.
being that puzzle piece. And then I feel like there are people who, I think, are so stubborn that to have it their way, that they'll do whatever it takes to have it their way. And I feel like those are kind of automatically leaders, like for better or for worse, of course. But
I can
maybe
think
I'm,
of at least several people like that too, actually.
yeah, maybe I'm not painting the best picture, but I guess I've always felt like, I don't know. I've always felt like I liked seeing to it. Think I wanted to see to it that something that I wanted to say with music would come out in the way that I feel it should. And I think, with Marlonius Jazz Orchestra, the big band, the way I look at it is I like to have everybody be themselves and play how they play. But I just like to be able to be that mediator, and
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
okay, here's this collective of individuals, and we start here, we end here, and
yeah.
I want to hear this today, I want to hear that, and um, I just love leadership. And I did not mention him, but I just saw the Clayton Hamilton Jazz Orchestra a couple of weeks ago at the Segerstrom, and I
Yeah.
love John Clayton very,
Yeah.
very much, and
So musical.
you know,
He's
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 way
kind of
up
a
there.
real beautiful balance of everything. He's so
Yeah,
musical, but
yeah,
he
yeah.
knows so much too. But he's really great. Yeah, in before you were probably out there playing, there was a guy here in town named Eric Von Essen who was a really great composer, a really unusually good bass player, and a leader. I mean, but he was the kind of guy, like one time I did a gig with him with two guitars, him and drums, and there was a blues we were doing, and then I was listening, to the solos, and he led, just by his playing, he led the band into this other room. And I didn't even come in and finish because I didn't have to. It was just, it
Wow.
was such a significant, beautiful place to go. And he was really like that. A lot of people really liked him. He was a very good composer too. And you can find stuff online about him. He was very good. You'd probably like him a lot. But yeah, bass is you really know when you have a good bass player, and you really know when you don't. In the band, there's
It's a
something
scary
definitely
instrument.
missing. Yeah, it's like, oh God.
Yeah, yeah. It's a naked instrument.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
also, which you'll be happy to know that I always tell my students, the bass player is the timekeeper,
Thank you.
not the drums. The drums has to have good time, but it's the bass player. So if you're ever lost on time, listen to the bass player, man,
Right.
not just
And it's a
time.
wake up call, and it's a wake up call for bass players because, especially with acoustic bass, we usually get so washed out by all the brass and the cymbals and everything in the mix, but we have to just remember who we are and what we're there for, and what we're there for is to make everybody else sound fantastic. Like be that Ron calls it the quarterback. You have to be kind of, there's this interaction and this play that's going on, but I always like the bass. It's kind of like the center. It's like the earth. And do you know Antoine Roney, tenor saxophonist?
No, I don't think so.
He's the brother of Wallace Roney, and
Oh,
I played with Antoine and his son Kojo Roney,
oh,
drummer, in New York when I was living there for a couple of years. And Antoine described the drums. He described the bass as kind of like the earth, the rock, like the soil, And then he described the chord instruments as like the vegetation, and like all the stuff that kind of springs. And then he said the drums was the weather forecast, and the weather, and it can
that's
be
cool.
showering, or it could be like, it can strike a tsunami, who knows, whatever, it could snow. But then the soloist would be the individual walking through this world and trying to navigate. Whoa, what's this? What's that? Oh, that's interesting. This is really cool. So I
That's
feel like
that's a cool idea. Yeah.
I've always really dug that.
That's really cool. Sometimes I'd say a slightly similar thing about when I'm teaching my students how to solo, which for singers there's other challenges, but I say that the music is like a boat traveling on a stream, and we're in the boat. So it's continuous. We're seeing all these different things, trees and whatever we're seeing, and we're just making comments. But we have to be connected. We're connected to it all. We're not just like, alone, which, sometimes singers have a tendency to do, like forget that they're part of the music, what's
Right,
happening. It's not just
right,
them alone.
right, right. The boat is not bound by just the walls of the boat. You're still in touch with
Yeah.
the earth around you and the water.
Yeah, and it's continuous. That's another thing that singers sometimes kind of lose track with. You know, I think musicians really have the idea that there's a song, there's a beginning, and there's an end, so it's all connected. But sometimes singers being, especially on scatting kind of things, they don't quite have that connection, that
Mhm.
understanding like you're part of what's going on. You're not separate.
Why do you feel that is with some singers, just this the obstacle of being a scat singer, uh, being that people kind of get
I
lost, don't feel
think
their
that
place in it.
yeah, I think that a lot of singers do not come up really, really listening to songs like instrumentalists do. Instrumentalists really listen to what, the different instruments. Um, and even if a singer, like I know some singers who are fabulous, they don't read music, but they've listened and listened and listened. Nancy King is one of, you know, I'll say my tribe, and she doesn't read music, but she's fantastic, and the reason is because she soaked in, she got into it so early and listened. She listened, 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 and I think that you know for whatever reason, some singers don't arrive at that place. They think, "Oh, I'm singing the song. Everybody's looking at me. I have to sing the song." They don't have this sense of belonging together with the musicians.
It's
It's
more of a
like,
mindset thing.
yeah, yeah. Oh, definitely. You have to be conscious, right? A little like I was just teaching today, and I was discussing with my student, it's okay to make a mistake if you're conscious of it. If you're
Yeah,
just like a singer who's just singing all these mistakes and not conscious, it's horrible. But if you
right,
make a
right.
mistake and you hear, of course, all the talk about it's not really a mistake, but if you make a mistake and you decide to do something with it, then you're conscious
Right,
and it's okay. But
right, right. Yeah, that's something we all have to do as
yeah,
musicians. And I think in every field of music, I think that should be the case. I come from a classical background, primarily when it comes to studying my instrument, and I spend most of my time on double bass, not as much on electric. I do play electric, but I do it more for fun or for my parents because they come from the funk R&B kind of era. And so, yes, I will play electric bass from time to time, but I spent most of my time on upright. And in the classical thing, it's like, yeah, when you're doing a recital and you're playing Bach or some bass concerto, and you miss, you shift and you miss the note by like a few percentages. It's like, what do you do? Like it's different when the music it's all laid out in front of you and you have to be the orator. You have to like give this speech.
yeah.
What do you do when you flub?
What do
And
you do?
it's
Because we were
but
just talking about this yesterday, actually.
oh really?
Yeah, I have a Zoom with classical and jazz people. We were just talking about that exact thing.
Really? Oh, I'd love
Yeah.
to be a part of that sometime.
Oh, I'll invite you.
Yeah, I love this conversation between the fields. But I'm well aware of what the issue is, like that's the thing. I had to train myself and learn thanks to my teachers and whatnot, being aware of, oh, you know what you just did there? You shifted and you missed the note a little bit. And so what do? You can kind of, there's so many different, actually there are a few different ways to go about it, but it's always awkward when the music is not improvised, so you kind of have to improvise a little bit using the music that's written. So sometimes for me,
Yeah.
that might be if it's going to save it to maybe change, not I don't want to say change the pitch because we don't want to just play out of tune, but
Yeah.
to adjust, try to find, if I'm working with a pianist or something, try to find the nearest tone that's just right there with the piano, and then
Yeah.
people will not really remember previous mistake in that one note. And also,
Right.
if the shape of the line is really nice, but
Yeah.
there are a few flat notes, I think most people will remember the shape of the line because
Yeah.
the journey through those
Yeah.
notes will come through still because of good technique and still aiming. I guess it's like I'm not a sports player, but it's like I guess you're just constantly aiming for that goal, and even if you miss a little bit, your eye is still on the target kind of thing. And
Yeah.
but I remember I did a jury for, I think it was my senior year at school, and I was playing Bach. I keep mentioning Bach today. It's great. Nothing wrong with that. And I was doing one of these fast movements from the cello suite, I think it was number 3, and I messed up. I had a near train wreck, and I was playing really fast notes and everything, and I ended up somehow improvising my way out of that particular phrase, because I think I had a memory slip and I froze for like half a second. And then I came out playing a whole tone, a whole tone phrase.
Wow.
And it was in part just my hand just kind of fell in those whole
Yeah.
steps, but it was also kind of like I kind of knew that it sounded funky. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know? And then I found my way again. I was like, okay, good, I'm good. And then when I listened back, I just couldn't believe it because I was playing in front of like the most famous violin teachers. He's so stoic and sitting there like this.
Wonder
He
what
was
they
really,
thought of it.
oh, he probably wasn't even, well, maybe I shouldn't say, but he's very dedicated to his violin students. Let's just say that.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was just a bassist showing up doing my
yeah,
dues. So
yeah.
yeah, but
That's
that's an
really
interesting thing.
interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I have heard Horowitz actually do something because I recorded a Scarlatti song, and so when I was researching it a little bit, I heard him do a solo on that song, and I was really impressed with how jazz like he was. He was kind of, I don't know if this is the right word, but kind of loose. It was like, and there was an area where I know he actually kind of changed a little.
Oh
It was like a different note that he actually played, but his
yeah.
phrasing was very jazz-like, and the feel, it was kind of like Bill Evans playing. It
That's
was really,
exciting.
yeah, it was really beautiful because I think the world of his playing, you know.
Right,
And
right.
it was beautiful Scarlatti piece. I should send you that just because it's such a pretty, well, it's one of my prettiest records, I think, with Josh Nelson and Larry Coons. And so we did that. It was really quite beautiful. And I'm not a classical singer, but how I knew that song was my piano tuner always plays that song when he comes
Oh,
and tunes my piano. And
that's
it's
cool.
in my key and it's beautiful. And so I thought, wow, I think we should do this song. And it was quite beautiful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm going to send you that because,
Please do.
you know,
Please do.
Scarlatti. Um, you know, I was just going to mention real quick that Bruce Gertz has a new app called Music Sight Reader, and it has classical music, and you can. It's with a trio, and you can take out whoever you can take out the piano or the bass, and yeah, they just
That
came
sounds
out with it.
great.
Yeah, Music Sight Reader. I am going to tell you some people who are saying hello just before we go on. Uh, Toby Simmons, she's a fan and she PRs people really well. She's here, and Mark Carter, Mark Baldrich, Hiroki Hayashi, who's from Tokyo, or actually he's from Hokkaido, I think, right, Hiroki? And uh, Toby says, stupidly great. Very cute. Nora Paradiso.
Oh,
Hi.
hello.
Let's see. Roland Oscarons, who's a dear friend of mine. Um, Tanya Grubbs, who's a great singer from the East Coast. Oh, okay. My friend Dan Davila, he's posted, I guess, some credits for you. Joyce Glasgow, who's also a fan from Seattle. She's an artist as well. Oh no, we didn't, Dan. He posted a something live at the Blue Whale.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
live at the Blue Whale. Which one was that?
You want to see?
Yes, let's see it.
Let's see. Oh, you look a
Uh,
little possibly younger
oh
or
yes,
thinner or something.
I was thinner and younger. Right.
CD
Just funny.
release.
Yeah, right. It was the CD. That was just a little trailer.
Ah,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I was actually playing Bach in that video,
Oh,
but the audio you're hearing is my composition, Open Gate.
oh, beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I
lovely.
yeah, I do a lot of Studio Ghibli. Yeah, cool.
That's somebody else, right?
Somebody else. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, that reminded me. One time, John Clayton played. Who was there? Was I feel like we were paying tribute to somebody who had passed away, but I can't remember. At the LA Athletics Club, we had about 9 bass players, good bass
Oh
players,
man.
including John, and he was. We played. They played a composition of his, and it was so good. I'll have to try and find that, or maybe
Yeah.
Dave has that. I'm just going to write that down because I think you'd enjoy uh,
Yeah.
hearing that.
I love the bass choir stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember hearing about that event too. What year was that? That was recently.
relatively recent. I want to say, I mean, that's one thing about the pandemic. It's really easy to just throw away those 2 years. So it's probably about 4 years ago, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it was a great group of players.
yeah. Tanya, of course you love the bass. You're married to a bass player. she says she says she loves the bass. But yeah, you're. Oh, I know. There's a question I want to ask you.
Yeah.
The funny thing about this particular series is that I know a lot about music, but then there's a lot I don't know. And so this question kind of shows what I don't know. So I want to know, when I listen to your big band, I hear such swinging, and I want to know why. Is it how you write the parts, or is it the players? Like you mentioned before, that you have the players just do what they do. You encourage that. What is it?
When you mean swinging, do you mean just like the charts, or are you talking about the
Well,
rhythm
yeah, the
section playing?
charts, the charts. Yeah, when the whole band is playing, it is so swinging.
Well, I'm happy to hear that because I've been trying to find that too, actually.
Mm,
What makes a swing chart swing? What does that mean? Is
yeah.
there some kind of historical context where certain rhythms or certain combinations of rhythms do that? Or
Yes.
is it all just one idea? As long as you got swing eighth notes, it's gonna swing. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
I've really been trying to dig into that. And I don't know, because it's a it's a stupid question. I'll give you a stupid answer. And the stupid answer is I don't know, but I also do kind of know that I spent a lot of my middle school, like my young years, like listening to swing era music. I was a weird
Big
kid.
bands or
Big
just,
bands specifically. I
yeah,
was a
like
weird kid. I
bassy and stuff
Yeah,
like that?
Basie, but even before that, I was listening to early Ellington. I was listening to Jimmy Lunsford. I was listening to whatever I can find that was Harlem jazz, of the 30s and
Yeah.
into the 40s. I'd go listen to that. I don't know why. I was a weird kid,
That
and
is
like I
weird
wasn't
for
I
a kid.
wasn't listening to. I could have been listening to. I mean, my friend when I yeah, my friends were listening to music way past that. And then I have very strange interests. So like that swing era from the 30s and 40s going into the 50s, but then I also love fusion. Just like on a dime I'd be like, "Oh, let me hear that. Let me enjoy this." And
Stanley
so
Clarke.
yeah, um yeah, there's certain rhythms and feeling the ands of everything, the and
Yeah,
of
yeah,
each beat. And um I think a lot of it has to do with its dance music at its core and in its origins,
yeah,
and so I don't think there would have been swing music as a concept if there wasn't any dancing involved. And so I kind of feel like the music that I write when I do swing the music, I'm a horrible dancer, but I can feel dance, you know, and I've played for dancers and with dancers on several occasions. I love dancers, and they do things that I feel like inspire the music, and the music inspires the dancing. So it's definitely a marriage between those two um, activities, dancing and music. And that being said, I feel like a lot of it has to just kind of bleed over the bar. Lots of syncopation, you know, lots of space, you know. We talk about Count Basie in space. Well, and well, so we say that about Miles Davis in space, you know. Like those things are huge elements of swing music, and I think it's such a hip concept, even though it's such an old concept, you know. But that being said, no, I don't have at this time, I don't have a technical like method or a set of like, here are my swing rhythms and
Yeah.
do this,
Yeah.
because I always just like, I kind of did like, there's this one thing that I wrote recently. We can actually take a listen if you like, but
Yeah.
one of the newer things that I wrote is dedicated to Audrey Hepburn, and she was a
Oh,
dancer.
yeah. I
She was
think
a
I heard that at the LA Athletics Club.
oh, we didn't do
Or
it there,
no,
but we did it at the
the
Mint.
Mint. Right.
Just one movement. It was our first run. It was our first run doing it. A lot of acrobatics in the writing, but she was a ballet dancer, and she also loved jazz tremendously. And so when she came to the U.S., she was very much acquainted with swing music and things like that. And but this interesting, the first theme was originally from something else that I had thought up when I was in New York. I was writing about food because I love food, and I had this swing melody in my head. And I remember right before the pandemic, I would like walk down the street. I think I was going to like Central Park or something, and I'd be walking and hearing the rhythms as
Oh,
I'm walking, you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and hearing that kind of skip in the step, and like, you know, you can kind of get dancy with your step, and that kind of inspired the rhythms for that little theme. And then eventually, some years later, I was like, oh, that's the theme that I'm thinking of, and boom, I put it there. So yeah, I don't know. And then lastly, when it comes to being a bassist, there are different ways. There's a start to a note, a middle to a note, and an end of a note. I really believe in the three. There's To me, there's no such thing as just one. You just strike the note, and then you give up and ignore everything else about the nuance that you just put out. I really don't believe that. And I feel that as a bass player, we have the chance to explore pocket through that technical framework. So I like a lot of my beats kind of like right on the almost on the edge of the beat a little bit,
The front
because
edge or the back edge?
the front
Okay.
edge. But I've also practiced playing really relaxed and on the back end as well. And I feel like that depends on the drummer and the pianist that I'm working with, you know, because it's like
Yeah.
an attitude thing. It's an attitude, and if the attitude is like everyone's like, oh, this is intense, and like we're kind of at the edge of our seats kind of thing. Playing ahead of the beat just does that for me, you know. And I
Yeah.
think that also helps with the swing feel that
Yeah.
you're picking up on,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the older rhythm sections, as I said, I've been down a rabbit hole with this, or with bass players, but with swing, I've also done that too. And I hear a lot of like like on the front of the beat kind of bass playing
What about
from
with
instruments.
Count Basie? Do you think they're on the front or on the back?
You know, I mean, even with drummers like Sonny Payne, I feel like there's always the bass player in the band. There's always this sense of urgency uh, as the final result. I feel like there's a sense of urgency. So you can have a lot of space. The drummer can kind of like cruise and like do things like that, but it still has this not stately. That's a very classical thing for me to say, but yeah, very kind of upright kind of walk. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
I'm really into that subject, and I'm dissecting it and learning about it. You know, and so I feel like that just suits my personality when I play most of the time, and So you're probably picking up on both the writing, obviously the musicianship, the players doing the writing, playing the writing, I mean, and also the rhythm section work does
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah. Um, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I really, I'm attracted to what you said about over the bar line and space. I forget who said this, but I just read it the other day. Somebody famous said that space is the 13th note of the scale.
whoa, that's cool.
That's cool, isn't it? I
Yeah.
forget who said it. A famous musician. Yeah, but I bet that has those things have also a lot to do with it. Over the bar line and space. And space, of course, is yeah, it's like the 13th note of the scale. It has a life,
It
space.
has a life and it has a value.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. And as a bass player, I really love, one of my favorite pockets is when I'm playing kind of on top of the beat, but I feel the drummer is able to stay there with the quarter note, but there's something else when they strike, when the after the stick strikes the cymbal, what happens in the air might feel long to me. I don't know what that is. There's this like nuance of some players and some pockets where it's like I feel the space, even though the music might be like at the front of the beat or like an urgent kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I get it.
You know what
What
I
comes
mean?
to mind is um, John Schofield. Now, I need to find out who the drummer was on this. It was either Bill Stewart or Paul Motion, but let me just see Schofield playing Bill. I love Schofield, so let's see. Bill, Bill Stewart. Okay, so I
Check it out.
I'm pretty sure like I'm hearing what you're talking about because it's not that he's behind the beat or anything, but there's something in the feel that's like
It's expansive.
luxuriating in it or something. I don't know. It's
Right,
like
right.
yeah, it's really cool. And I'm very intrigued with Jay Bellerose. Have you seen him?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah. Remind me
He's
about Jay. Yeah.
well, he plays with Larry Goldings.
Right.
He also plays with pop people, like big pop people. He's on the road with.
Uh-huh.
He's such an interesting player, but he's kind of like a soundscape player.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
very different. He doesn't just like groove the whole time. But he's
Thinkers.
yeah, and if he goes like that, it's perfect.
Mm.
It's absolutely perfect. It's kind of mind blowing, I think.
Wow.
And what was interesting was I was telling my drummer friend that Jay was kind of a minimalist because he has a very tiny set and he does things like that, and it's perfect. My friend said he is not a minimalist. He's playing. There's a lot of music, and I was
It's a
like,
lot of
really?
depth. Right.
Yeah, and I guess he tunes his drums low, but he really, it's very interesting. I saw him at Sam First with Anthony Wilson and Josh Crumley. Do you know
Oh,
Josh
cool.
Crumley?
Yeah, not personally, but I love his playing.
What a good
Jeez.
concert that was. Yeah,
Oh yeah. Man, I'm gonna make it down to Sam First soon.
yeah, that was really good. Very, very. I mean, I'll go on about that at some other time, but it was a really, really good concert. They were all so there and listening to each other, and of course they were all wonderful players too, But anyway,
Yeah.
so let's see, anything else here? Yeah, Leslie Zerla. I don't know if she introduced herself to you. She was at that LA Athletics Club gig.
Leslie.
She comes down from Bakersfield, and she's a singer, and she used to own a club too.
I think I did meet her because I remember Bakersfield.
She's kind of a
Speaking.
petite woman.
I think
Yeah.
so.
So she said you're a creative force, and she's
Oh,
been getting to know you ever since that concert. And yeah, and Roland, make a quick comment to you. He said, he said, I'd love you to discuss the oft discussed subject of why good musicians can't dance their way out of a paper bag. It's just
Yeah, why
practice.
is that? Practicing, and
Yeah.
I think it's maybe a cultural thing too, because
Thank you.
I've met musicians from other countries who
Uh-huh.
where those countries might be very dance oriented in their culture from a young
Brazil
age.
or something.
Yeah, Cuba or somewhere, and so it's kind of like I think it's partly just our it's our strange nature. I think in the United States to not be as ironically not as dance oriented as individuals when it comes to like once we pick a subject we like we stick to it, but then it's easy to kind of forget
Yeah.
this music is dance music at its core, like I remember a YouTube video of Barry Harris, the late Barry Harris, when he
Uh-huh.
said he was telling his students, he said, when we used to see Charlie Parker, we went to a dance hall to hear him. We saw Dizzy, it
Yeah.
was a dance hall.
That's
He was
right.
listening to all these musicians, and the context at the time was they were still their day jobs or their gigs at night would still be playing with big bands or whatever for dancers or little halls and dance clubs and things like that. And so that was still the sign of the times,
Yeah.
and so then the music has taken on a different evolution.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's part evolution and also like just the culture. I would love to like I think I might. Well, my wife says I'm a good dancer. I have no idea what she's. I think I know what she
He
means,
probably
but
means that you have rhythm,
I
you
think
know? I
rhythm and
mean,
feel. But
yeah.
I can dance, but you probably don't want to see it.
That's like my husband. I always joke about it because he's not a musician, but he did lighting on the Tonight Show for the bands.
Okay.
And so, and he played drums when he was a kid, but after that, no. But when I first, danced with him or something before we got married, I said, it's a good thing you have rhythm, because otherwise I wouldn't be with you. And he said, he laughed and he said, oh yeah, right. And I said, I'm not kidding. It's like I
We
could
need that
not live
affirmation.
with a guy who has no rhythm. That would be the last straw for me.
Rhythm is kind of like it's this all-encompassing experience, like
Yeah, yeah.
I when I lived in New York, my wife, then fiance at the time, we would go to salsa clubs and things like that.
Oh,
She's a
cool.
fantastic salsa like
Ah,
dancer. I don't know why. She can just do it, and like
yeah.
she's the perfect like if a lead walks up to her, hey, let's may I have this dance, boom. It's just amazing. I'll sit there at the
Wow.
bar with the nachos and I'll be like, okay. I'll be like, I see what he's doing. I see the I get the big picture of what's
Yeah,
happening
yeah,
and I get the basic steps, but I'm only going to do the basic steps.
yeah.
Just try to make them the best basic steps I can possibly do. Or I'll pick like a merengue, something stupidly simple of like a big two, 1, 2, 1, 2, and
And
I'll
salsa has that other hip direction too that is
oh
not,
yes.
it's totally unnatural for me. I move
Yeah,
this
yeah,
way
yeah.
and you're supposed to move this way. That's
Yeah.
that's an interesting. It's great though. I wish I
Oh
could dance salsa. God.
the music is intoxicating.
Yeah.
I like bachata. Bachata is really beautiful.
Uh,
It can be more free, I think, free for
yeah.
all when it's a slower tempo. But
Well,
yeah, it's a good question.
obviously you have a Latin last name. So it was Latin music part of your upbringing as well?
I'm pretty mixed. So the Martinez is a very small part of it. Trying to learn more about that actually.
Oh,
Yeah, but I feel like I feel a lot closer to my mother's side and the more African American um, side of things. Yeah, my DNA, I'm all over the place. You know,
but your
I have a lot of
upbringing,
I have
what
a lot
about
of
your
British.
upbringing?
I have a
Oh,
lot of
really?
British.
Uh,
Gosh, we can go down a
what
whole.
about your upbringing though?
So my father, like my parents,
Yeah.
yeah, my father, Nigel Martinez, he's a former record producer and songwriter from London.
Oh,
He was born in Leicester in
Oh,
England
okay.
and born and raised there. He was the first international agent to work for Motown, and he produced artists like Billy Ocean and
Ah,
geez, who are some of the other guys? I'm
wow.
blanking, but you can look him up. And
Yeah.
so I came from a very British dad.
Yeah.
My mother, Josie James, is a singer, and she's from LA,
Oh, I
born
didn't
and
realize your
raised.
mom was Josie James.
Maybe you guys work together. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Well, her name is really familiar to me. I mean, other than Dan Davila actually posted a blue whale thing with
Right.
her.
Oh
But
yeah. If it's off of my YouTube channel, I like that one.
it is there.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
can listen to that.
I think
But
it's the look of
yeah.
love, right?
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Right.
Yeah, my mother, yeah, born and raised in LA. She sang with Stevie Wonder, the George Duke Band. That was her
Oh.
gig. The Crusaders, Al Jarreau, people like that. And so that's kind of where
Oh.
my parents come from, that like fusion, that funk fusion era,
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Interesting.
my
So
dad is like
there
a
really wasn't I mean it wasn't if at all there was really wasn't a heavy influence of Latin type of music at all, right?
not so well, not so directly,
Yeah.
but because my parents love all kinds of music and all good music, there's always going to be some kind of a Latin element,
Yeah.
to in jazz. There's so much Latin influence in jazz music, and there's Latin jazz. There's also, all the stuff that people like George Duke, the George Duke band, they put lots of Latin influence and Brazilian influence in
Yeah,
their
he
music
did a
and
lot of work with
tons
Latin
of that.
music.
I
Yeah.
mean, Brazilian Love Affair and all that stuff,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so it's I grew up around all these different branches of the music.
Mm.
I just gravitated towards something different. My sister's Marlise Martinez. Or Marlise there. Her and her husband are violinists,
Oh.
and she went a
Ah.
complete classical route, orchestral route with the San Diego Symphony. And me, I followed that path too, uh, for a while, and studied classical music. And I love classical music. So classical music and straight ahead jazz is kind of like my alley, But that's my
That's
background.
cool.
My parents are very busy. They have a radio show online called Solar Radio. They
Oh,
come on every Wednesday night, I think, from, I want to say, 6 to 8 p.m., I think.
cool. Every
Yeah,
Wednesday, I'm writing that down.
yeah. I
I'm
can send you the
also
links.
I also am going to hook you up with Bevan Manson if you don't know him already.
No, I'd love to meet Bevan.
Bevan Manson is kind of a genius guy. He's had his whole lifetime one foot in classical and one foot in jazz.
Oh,
He
wonderful.
studied with Gunther Schuller, and yeah, I mean, he was just went to New England Conservatory, and yeah, he's a pianist, and he's an active person. He's recording, and he does, he writes for classical and jazz, and
Wow.
I think you two would be intrigued by each other. I'm going to hook you up.
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we can watch this.
Let's do this. Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
music.
And also definitely hear your Audrey Hepburn piece as well.
Sure.
She's very beautiful too.
Thank you.
The look of love is in your eyes. A look your smile can't disguise. The look of love is saying so much more than just words can ever say. And what my heart has heard, well, it takes my breath time can erase. Be mine tonight. Let this be just the start of so many nights like this. Let's take a lover's vow and then seal it with a kiss. I can hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, don't ever go, don't ever go. I love you so.
Yeah.
Michael Raganese.
I can hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, don't ever go, don't ever go, don't ever go. Don't ever go. Don't ever go. Don't ever go. I love you so. Thank you. That was Mike Raganese on piano.
Do you know Mike?
All right.
No, I know his name, but I don't know
He's a great,
him.
great guy. Great guy. I haven't
Yeah.
spoken to him in a while. Yeah, my mother sang with Burt Bacharach for a very long time. I think I want to say going on. I'll get this wrong, but over 25 years.
Oh,
Um, and well, we're just fingers crossed that he's going to do some more because he's up there. You know, he's pretty old, and he always had this like just ruthless kind of energy. So we're all hoping that he wants to do some more touring and whatnot. But the music of Burt Bacharach, yeah, is something that my mom has really she's really gotten into. You know, because it's the gig and
yeah,
there's beautiful songs in there.
yeah.
You know.
Hold on one second. My husband's asking me something. Okay. Yeah. Roland says he's not old, he's seasoned.
Seasoned. There you go.
Okay, Roland, that's because you're getting a little older. You want to be thought of
Oh.
as seasoned too. And I think you are seasoned.
Uh,
So, yeah, so now I'm beginning to see where you're coming from and, you know, your history and who you enjoyed. Now you went to Colburn, right?
yeah.
So is Colburn before New York, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely before New York. I was there from I was in the Colburn Conservatory from 2009 to
Uh-huh.
2015. I did my bachelor's and master's there. Um, Matter of fact, I was in the first graduating class for the master's. It's still a relatively new school, so um, was in the first master's class, and then after that, I freelanced both orchestra and jazz.
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt. For those listening who don't know the Colburn School of Music, it's in L.A. It's across from the Music Center, and it's or the Disney Hall actually, and it's a very renowned school. I just wanted to say that.
It
So
was
for people who might not
boot
know
camp.
about Colburn, yeah,
Yeah, classical boot camp. It was wonderful. I loved
yeah.
it. I loved
Is it mostly classical?
Yeah, the
Oh,
conservatory is an all classical program.
oh,
Um, but we'll see in time. I mean, they have a jazz program for the high school students, and then they have an adult studies jazz program.
right, right.
I
I
know
knew
some
that.
teachers there, like Liz Kinnon on
Right, Liz
piano.
Kinnon. Yep.
There are definitely there are a lot of people that teach there, and but in the conservatory, so the college level stuff, it's all classical.
Mm.
That being said, I think there's a lot more interest in jazz lately with Colburn, and I'm going to be doing an artist residency the last week of March, um, dealing with jazz and the subject of Billy Strayhorn.
Oh,
And I think they're interested in branching out in terms of preparing string players, well, not just string players, but preparing the musicians for a well-rounded career, in these times. And so I think jazz is a great step, so we'll see in time what that looks like for the Colburn Conservatory. But when I was there, it was strictly classical, and
yeah.
fun,
You know,
fun.
I just have to, I wish I remembered all the details of this. I talk to so many people that I sometimes forget who said what, but there was somebody I was talking to a week or so ago who was talking about a program, and it might have been having something to do with Gunther Schuller, but where the the classical players were given they had to improvise. They had to move over into the jazz to improvise. Maybe it was Joe DiOrio. Anyway, because Joe DiOrio died, and there's a lot of talk about him. And then the jazz people had to play the classical music,
Wow.
and you know, both sides were a little awkward on the
Right.
other side, but it was a great expansion, right? Great
Oh,
tool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think one of the things that I got from studying classical music is being, if I can pick the right word for it, I think it is being, man, I kind of lost it because it's a concept, but being very sure of what you're doing, as you would play written music and you're practicing written music and bringing the best out of it that you can. It should be the same amount of dedication and integrity and seriousness as being an improviser, you know.
I'm going to
That
ask
carries
you a
over,
question. Okay, so this is purely a personal question.
Sure.
I'm studying piano in a class from Fullerton with Jeremy Siskind, who's a
Oh, Jeremy.
wonderful
Yeah.
player. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and it's a beginning piano class, but not, it's not, you have to know music and I've already played piano, but I've played chords in my right hand, and I guess I've been an accompanist, right? So I can play in whatever key, and the chords are okay, and time is good, and I can transpose, I'm okay, but I really wanted to learn kind of it from the piano player side. So, oh God. So, now I'm playing chords and voicings in my left hand with comping patterns. That
Right.
alone is hard. And then adding the melody. Ay, ay, ay. So,
Oh boy. Yeah. I couldn't
just
do that.
it's very humbling. Oh
I
my
need to take
God.
I need to take that class.
Oh God, it's humbling. So anyway, but what I've noticed is that, I'm trying to improvise in my right hand, he gives a very simple way of approaching first, which is just a drone of the 1 and the 5 in the left hand. So you can just, just feel and concentrate how it might feel to improvise in the right hand with
Wow.
a nice sound, But let's see. I have to remember my question. My question is, oh yeah, because you just said something that kind of spurred what I've been wondering about, which is, I mean, I kind of know what Jeremy would say, kind of, but so I can either just kind of blah, 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 look around in my right hand, or I can notice, oh, I like the 1 and the 6 and the up to the 7, I definitely do not know the piano well enough to play like it's actually a third that I hear, and my fingers don't know that, My fingers go, oh, maybe it's a second, But I've also tried to have a point of view, like, so coming from my personal taste and knowledge, what do I want to hear? I want to hear going to a third. So making that happen. What do you think about it? Like, it kind of ties into what you were saying about being definite. And do you think, if you were just talking about how to practice for somebody, would you suggest that? Would you suggest, kind of going from your hearing and knowledge to the board, the fretboard, or?
So if we're talking about practicing improvisation, right? And we're talking about
Yeah.
soloing
And also
or
maybe
baseline
just getting to
sounds.
know your instrument. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. I think I'll address the improv side of it first, I think, which is that I think it's good to be intentional in the practice room. I think it's good to be like, all right, I'm going to focus on minor thirds right now, and know what they are, know what they sound like. For a double bass player or a bass player on any instrument, get the fingering right. Decide what your fingering is going to be, or you can say, I'm going to work on a fingering system of minor thirds, or like shifting in minor thirds, and let me come up with something around chords, a C7 chord, whatever. Let's see what shapes I can make, or like a C drone. What kind of minor thirds will I come up with? Oh, well, that's interesting because that's very open. You can go a lot of different places, but you can plan those things, and hopefully in time, with different permutations of the same kind of routine, one will develop a muscle memory for those things, so that when you go on stage and you play a gig, um, eventually, as you're playing lines or bass lines, whatever it is, your brain will start to fire off like, ooh, look at that, that was a minor third. Oh, what about this? What about that? What about that? But you're doing it as you're feeling your way through.
Yeah.
So for me, that's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, for me, it's interesting. Side note, lately, my practice has definitely been kind of like on the job type of practice. I think New York kind of also is a factor there, because I would just be running to a gig and just pick up the bass. Okay, first song is my warm up for today, so I'm only going to play half notes, and like learning on the spot kind of taught me to be quick about the intervals, like minor 7, boom, this one, boom, this one, and or some days don't even think about that stuff. Just most of the time, whatever sounds good in the moment, and then I can listen back and record the gig, and then I'll say, okay, now I'm going to study what just happened there. That sounded so hip because so and so played this chord, and then this note was a major 7 thing. Oh wow, major 7 there. Okay, then you kind of see after the fact why it sounded so cool and why it worked intervallically.
Yeah.
Then you start to ruminate. So like, for example, one thing that I'm exploring a lot of is major 7 relationships in music, like harmonies and voicings. And you can be as dissonant as you like, but if you have certain third relationships or second relationships and stuff like that, you have a kind of framework that is going to, be organized. And yeah, those are things that have also come from experience and just letting it happen, and then going back to find out why it was so cool, and then the other way around. So I like to work both ways, the intuitive, right, and then the well, it's the cerebral versus like the heart kind of thing. It's going both ways interchangeably is kind of how I like to practice. Yeah,
Cool.
mostly on stage, at least nowadays. Whereas when I play an
Funny.
orchestra, like I played
Yeah.
Appalachian Spring recently, a couple months ago with the Martha Graham Dance Academy, which is awesome. They were
Huh.
incredible, in a band called Wild Up. They do contemporary music, mostly contemporary music, but they're also a very all-encompassing ensemble. And it's always fun when the music is already there on the paper, because now I can turn on that other way that my brain works, where it's like, okay, I see the minor third on the page, so let me find out how does that work here. It's also nice to be kind of spoon fed what the intervals are that you're expected to hit. So it goes like that for me.
That's interesting. Okay, yeah. I'm it's funny. I think I took for granted my singing over the years, you know. Um, I it, I didn't start with voice training until I was in college, but I was always singing from when I was born, and I played flute and guitar and went to Berkeley for flute and arranging and composition, and then I developed some vocal problems in college because I wasn't trained, you know, and I was singing everything from Motown to to jazz, and so learned about the voice. I had a few very good teachers after I moved here. One particular teacher who taught me, a proper method that I started teaching myself, and then in recent years I have several teachers actually, but they were technique, you know, and I the other stuff I mean I worked on, especially when I was in college. You know, I worked on, for instance, taking down Red Top or something, you know, so I could sing it, you know.
Right.
But but working on the things you're speaking of is something new to me, and that's why I'm really liking it a lot. And I find that the piano, even my small steps, have been um, informing me of other things, which is really nice.
The small steps are becoming giant steps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yes.
It's funny because
The
I'll use
jazz
this.
meme of the
I'll use
century.
this moment to tell people this, which I've been telling people this because this book I took me 15 years to write, and it's just coming out now. The Act of Becoming, and this actually is a very small philosophy book on how a lesson in life might apply to a lesson in voice technique or a lesson in singing jazz. So
Cool.
yeah, it's the same lesson everywhere.
Wow.
And so I really like that kind of thing. You know, it's I've been reading Kenny Werner's second book too, which is
Cool.
it's along those lines as well.
Right.
So yeah, I love talking like this because it fires off the synapses. You know, it's really
Yeah, like who else do we know that, other than musicians who want to talk about that kind of stuff? While everybody else is going to work and walking in and data processing or whatever. We're talking about music and stuff, and it's fantastic.
yeah.
Do you want to hear
Um,
more music, or what do you have time for?
oh, we have lots of time. We can hear more
Good.
music. You want to? Let's play something.
Sure, I'm losing words here, so
Oh, don't worry. I have more questions for you.
oh boy.
So, let's see. So, oops. So, yeah. Now you mentioned the Stewart Copeland thing. Should we listen to that?
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to listen to just the track, yeah, actually that's all we have right now.
What is
Yeah, you
this,
can
by
type
the
in.
way? Open Gate? Did you like just
Ooh,
go somewhere and?
actually, yeah, let's watch that because I only have 57 views. I'd like to get more views on that. Open Gate, yeah. This is a composition that I wrote. Originally, it's on actually the video that your friend sent of the blue whale was like a little teaser.
Yeah.
The audio is Open Gate.
Oh.
It's a very short piece, and when I went to New York, I met a dancer, Emily Chamberlain, who has a dance collective, and we became good friends, and we started doing a duet,
Ah,
bass and dance, where we would go
nice.
to dance venues and like competitions, literally playing the bass and moving around. We're exploring the interdisciplinary aspects of our art and
Ah,
in movement and sound. So I started adding more sections to the piece because of that. And then
ah.
when COVID hit, we were isolated and we were like, okay, what are we going to do now? I decided to kind of branch out with this piece and add more sections. And so what you're going to watch is the latest configuration minus the dancing. So yeah, it's called Open Gate, and this is from my self-titled Tiny Tunnel concert because there's a Tiny Desk concert
Yeah,
out
yeah.
there, and
I
so
love that.
who knows? Maybe it will be something.
I have something like that too. Every now and then
Really?
I will do what I call the prayer improv. And because I like, I even have a group of 7 singers who we just improvise. We're called Fish to Birds. And so I just like to start and improv, and it usually lasts about 3 minutes or so, you know. And I call it prayer improv. I put it on Instagram sometimes, and
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah, it's good. It's a
Yeah.
good thing. Okay, so here is Open Gate. That's great. Wow.
Thank you.
Love
That's a
that.
fun one. It's fun. It's hard, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounded great. Just great.
Those were bowed harmonics. In case
Oh,
you're wondering.
Roland had asked if you were playing harmonics. What did you
Yeah.
say? Boat harmonics?
Bowed harmonics.
Bowed?
Yeah,
Bode?
yeah.
What does that
B O
mean?
B O W E D. Just means that I'm bowing
Oh,
on the
bowed.
strings. Yeah,
Sorry, bowed. Sorry.
yeah. That's okay. Yeah.
So bowed harmonics.
Yeah, yeah. It's really just harmonics with the bow.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I mean harmonics is probably a little hard on bass, right? Double bass.
not if you have the right kind of strings. I think the brighter the string, the more harmonics will sound out. Um, with that being said, you can find harmonics on any stringed instrument. There's harmonics on what, any instrument, right? Is that true? Yeah, overtones,
Yeah.
but the harmonics on a stringed instrument are always there, no matter what the brand is. It's just
Huh.
that I'm a fan of trying to bring them out a little more, and sometimes you need brighter strings, different kind of material, different kinds of metals and whatnot to bring that out for sustain. And then you get a tiny tunnel, and then you make it amplified, and it's great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember when I was younger, there was a famous guy in town. I can't remember his name. He was the bass repairman, and John Hurd took his bass to the guy to because he wasn't getting a good sound. There's something wrong, so the repair guy couldn't find anything wrong, but he thought he'd changed the strings because he noticed the strings were a little old. So changed the strings, bass sounded great. And then he found out that John hadn't changed the strings in 7 years. I think because he was, cheap. I mean, it's very expensive, I know, but
Oh, wow, yeah. Their set of strings is it's going to cost you. Yeah, yeah. Strings. It's really important to change strings, I think. Like, you can go for a dark sound, and I think that's
yeah,
really beautiful, or you can go with like a brighter sound, and that's really beautiful. And it depends on the instrument and the style, or the person's like voice that they want to put out through the bass. And I like bright new strings. And I'm playing on a larger instrument now. The
oh,
one that you saw actually at the athletic club it's a much bigger bass. It's a tubbier instrument. It's a deeper sounding instrument. So that with brighter strings, I think, is a great little combination. It's gear talk, you know.
Yeah, somebody was telling me that most bass players, or a lot of bass players, play a three-quarter bass.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
just because your arm, I mean, it must be tiring to like play a higher neck, right?
Well, there are different size basses. If you look at symphony orchestras, like a lot of, well, if you look at the Berlin Philharmonic, right, um, their basses are huge.
Hmm.
They play on really large basses. I don't know exactly, but they look like they're 7/8 or full size. I don't even know what the full size dimensions are. And they're just big tanks. They're tank basses, you know, and they're cumbersome and everything else. And they're usually shipped to them for the gig, you know, because they can afford to. But my instrument is the one that you just saw in the video is like a baby three-quarter. It's like a little mini, it's like a three-quarter, but it's an interesting one. You know, the bass that you saw me play live, which I've been playing more, is a 7/8 size, so it's a
Oh,
larger, fatter bass. But the neck, I've had the bass repair person kind of sand down the neck a little bit, so
oh,
it's not so bulky. You can do all
oh,
kinds of things to get the setup more comfortable. But I've actually been struggling with, well, up until I had deep needle therapy, but I was having some serious arm tension. Matter of fact, some of the later videos of the big band, I'm wearing a brace on
oh,
my hand, um, walking around like I had like a robot like hand or something because my muscles were so tight. I had like golf elbow, tennis
oh,
elbow,
God.
like everything wrong. Everything that can go wrong was happening all of a sudden, and it happened in November, and then it happened again, but minor, in January, and it was like, oh my god. So I was looking into acupuncture and things, and it comes down to, I think, that I was overusing my muscles, you know, with the pandemic and not having much to do, to all of a sudden playing double, you know, the amount that I would be playing or whatever, because things just started coming back really fast. And then I
Yeah.
switched instruments, which requires a different set of, like, your body has to adjust to that too. Now, I didn't think much about it, you know, and I just kind of went on and played, and I ended up with lots of tension. So I
Huh.
had to stop playing bass for a little while so I can heal
Oh,
up, you know.
wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's hard. It's really hard. I mean, every instrument has its thing, right? But
Right.
still, uh, that sounds hard actually on the bass. Yeah. Well, I hope that gets better for you, you know.
Thank you. It's a lot better. I did the therapy, and I got dry needles, which is a kind of like, it's like an acupuncture kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this arm feels like new. It's like amazing. I highly recommend people look into it if they have some kind of really deep tension going on in the muscles, and you need like that blood flow to just go through.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. I'm gonna do the same thing with this arm and my back and everything.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like it's worth it. I need to. It feels like my left arm feels kind of like how it did when I was in school, when I wasn't as injured often.
Wow.
Like, so I can start putting in the practice and not being in like a lot of pain.
That's incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
I lately I've had this in the last month and a half. I've had a kind of a sciatica down my arm,
Mm.
and I went to chiropractor. That helped relieve the pain of it, but I still have buzzing all the way down my arm. And so every day I have to take Tylenol and I put patches on my back. And so,
Yeah, the whole deal.
yeah, I understand. And especially playing bass. I mean, it's such a big physical instrument. So, yeah, it must take a lot of work to keep
Yeah,
in a relaxed frame of body.
it's really difficult. Yeah, I remember like even in undergrad, I was doing something wrong, and I was kind of overplaying in my right arm with the bow, and I was I was kind of like really bringing my arm down and like kind of really pulling on this tendon. I actually pulled the tendon and like I like
Mm.
tore it.
Oh,
Yeah, it was awful, and I had to sit out on so many rehearsals and things, and like just a horrible pain. So I went through different therapies and things like that, and I still have it. So I'm thinking the deep needle, I keep saying deep needle, but dry needle therapy should probably help.
it helped your left side. So,
Yeah, it's got to do something. It's got to activate. Like it basically tells the brain, oh, okay, this area is in pain. Like let's go heal it
yeah.
right now, and it will send the right kind of healing chemicals and all the stuff in the lymphatic system to kick in and do the job. For some reason, my body just wasn't healing this the like the right way, I guess. So we'll find out.
Sounds great. Good luck with
Yeah,
that
it's
because it's
good.
great. Yeah. Wow. So are you, we didn't really fully talk about this, but are you a teacher as well?
Yeah, I currently teach at the California School of the Arts, San Gabriel Valley in
Oh, okay.
Duarte.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a small bass studio there, and I am also coaching one of the jazz combos. I teach privately. I have students, and it's just right now I'm focusing more on this Colburn School artist residency that I have coming up. This Sunday, we're doing some lecture videos. We're
Ah,
doing a whole thing where I'm going to talk about Billy Strayhorn, his life and his music. And so that's kind of more of where my educational stuff is going towards right now um, until the end of March, because March 27 is going to be a tribute concert to Billy Strayhorn at Colburn.
is
And
this
so,
open to the public?
yeah, it's free. It's open to the public.
Okay,
It's an
wait a minute.
RSVP. I can
So,
actually send you the link.
oh, good.
I
March
don't know if I can do that
7th
here.
in the
Uh,
evening, Monday.
March 27th.
Oh, 27th, March 27th.
It's a Sunday
And that
matinee.
is a Sunday. Is it at nighttime or
No, it's a matinee. It's at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock? This is in Los Angeles, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
Maryland at Colburn. Okay.
yeah. And the hall that we're playing in is the beautiful Zipper Hall.
You know the story about Zipper, I'm sure, right?
Well, which one? There are a lot of stories about
Well,
Herbert
just
Zipper.
how he came up, and I
Yeah,
mean how the whole, yeah, Zipper Hall. I'll just touch on this for people
please
listening.
do.
Yeah, Zipper. What was his first name?
Herbert.
Herbert. He was in an internment camp, and I just think about this all the time. So the prisoners, of course, they didn't have instruments, right? they
Right.
they would have like a little stick they found or a piece of paper, and so they made these instruments out of anything that was available. And then he had I think there was one particular piece that he was training them on, and they were playing this piece with all these little teeny weird handmade instruments. And I don't know much about his life when he got out, but so like I don't know if the hall was dedicated to him or he actually funded the hall.
That I don't know.
Yeah.
So don't quote me on it. I think it's a hall in his memory, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah. That I would like to learn about.
Yeah, very interesting. Stephen Nachmanovich told me about him, the guy who wrote Free Play. Do you know that book?
I don't.
That
I
that
need to
was
read more books.
that book
Yeah.
was also written around the time Effortless Mastery was, and
Okay. Right.
that book also was like a Bible for a lot of people. It's called
Mm.
Free Play, Improvisation in Life and the Arts.
Oh, well,
And
that sounds great.
yeah, and he's an improvisational violinist, and he also recently, like Kenny, came out with his second book. It took about 25 years for both of them to come out with their second books, and they're very interesting because they're basically where the first books kind of left off and then kind of expanded from there. It's very interesting. Um, and yeah, thank you, Dan, because I definitely want to hear the Stewart Copeland thing. And Roland actually is curious if the pressure on the bow, like when you're doing harmonics, is lighter in order to bring out the harmonics.
Yes. Yeah, that's a simple answer. Yes, and also where you put the bow on the string matters.
Yeah.
If you really want to know, getting the harmonics best to do that, you would put the bow closer to the bridge, so the bridge is down. So like if I have my bass, it's in the other room, but the bridge would be like down here, and the fingerboard's like here. So here's the end of the fingerboard. Well, you have to put the bow further down towards the bridge because the string is tighter, and so it's going to really bring out more of the metallic metal things that the string is made of. And so bowing there gets you a really crisp, clean, and sustainable tone for harmonics. Yeah,
Harmonics are so cool.
I know. It's so fun. Like I did pluck a few notes in that piece. I played some open E. Oh, and of course the middle section was all ordinary notes, so just playing no harmonics, or maybe one harmonic. But it's like, yeah, the harmonic section is always the best. Whenever I go through that really long section where I'm doing the ricochet with the bow,
Yeah.
like my left hand is like, okay, please finish this, so we could just play harmonics again. And then I finally go back to the harmonics. It's like, oh, it's just it's relieving.
Was that the part like maybe three quarters in or kind of
Yeah, yeah,
towards the
yeah.
end? Yeah, that was a
Well,
really
it was like,
beautiful part.
thank you. It was like the middle section, and it was like a minor thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there was something that you changed into that was lighter, you know, um, the the notes, the chords were a little lighter, higher, or
Right,
something.
towards
That
the
was really
end.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was
Thank you.
beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, let's definitely hear about the Stewart Copeland. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So in 20, oh, let's see, what year was that? In 2014, Stewart Copeland hired me to be his bassist in a new project called Off the Score,
Okay.
where we're playing the classics by Bach and Stravinsky, Ravel, but we're playing off of the score. It's just a reference point, and we're jamming. We're soloing and playing tunes over like the Rite of Spring, and really cool stuff like that. And so Stewart put together it's a semi-classical rock fusion band with a concert pianist, John Kimura Parker, who lives in Texas. He's on piano. Yoon Kwan is the violinist from the Met Opera. And then my good friend Judd Miller. Do you know Judd Miller, the
I do
EBI
know
player?
Judd Miller,
Oh,
yeah,
good. I
from the
figured
old days.
I
Yeah.
figured you guys would, yeah, know each other.
Yeah.
Judd is on this track. Well, the five of us became a band, and we toured around the U.S. and Canada, on and off for a few years, doing this crazy modern-ish improv chamber music with punk rock. So and Stewart didn't want electric bass. He didn't want Sting, like he wanted the upright, and he wanted me to kind of do like what Stanley does with the upright. And so a lot of like, just let me play chords and strum and electrics and the bow and all that cool stuff. And so it's a fun gig. And so what happened was, both leaders went with different agents, and we haven't been working for a little while, by a few years. And so I approached Stewart and I said, hey, I'm about to record my debut album, and I would be honored if you would like to play on it. And I wrote like a couple little riffs for bass and drums alone. And so then I went to Stewart's recording studio, called the Sacred Grove, which is on YouTube. There's tons of
Oh,
Sacred Grove.
really?
He's got
Yeah.
like Snoop Dogg in there, and he's got like
Oh, cool.
all these greats, and so we recorded there, and then I felt like something was kind of missing. We needed something else in there. And then I decided to turn it into a trio. And then I called up Judd Miller and said, hey, Judd, look, I got this thing. What can you put on this with your soundscape, and all of the stuff that you do? And he says, okay, cool, come over and Just in one day, boom. I gave him a couple little directions, and then the rest was Judd. So yeah, that's called HD. That's the name of the track. We can go look it up right now.
Okay, I was going to, let's see, we can do that. Let's see, hold on.
Yeah, I think it's right there.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. I'm gonna use the restroom, but go ahead and hit play.
Okay, cool.
I'll be right back.
All right. cool. Wow. Love that. I know you just sold a few copies because I know my people who watch, but oh, that's really nice.
Thanks. I
Yeah.
love doing that.
Roland just said, I decided to make Marlon rich. I just bought this album on iTunes.
Oh,
Happy. LOL. Yeah,
you.
iTunes, we're not getting a lot of money, but still, he bought it.
But thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, yeah. It's been a while. We recorded that 2016, I think. The album came out
2016?
the album came out in 2017, and then I haven't put out anything since then until probably the end of this year. The Marlonius Jazz Orchestra will record music by Billy Strayhorn and a couple of my originals. We're recording at the end of March, on the 28th and the 29th. So basically, the days after the show on the 27th at Colburn, we'll
Oh,
be
good.
recording our first album, which will be my second album, the first big band album. Yeah. So
Do
yeah,
you
it's been a while.
record
Man.
at Colburn?
We will for this project. Yeah.
Do they have actually a studio or are you doing it live?
No, we're gonna do sort of like a live kind of thing. We're gonna record it in Zipper Hall
Yeah.
to get that kind of live feeling. So a couple of takes per song and hope for the best. It's a
That's
lot for a big
exciting.
band, but it's really exciting. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, very
And
exciting.
it's taken me a long time to decide what I wanted to do next for an album, and
Yeah.
because this like HD is obviously pretty different from Stupid or other things that I do, and I do like to switch it up. But that being said, I'm definitely in a big band mode right now, and so yeah.
I think that's really good. I love that. I want to listen to that one more. It's really cool. You know what I noticed was that you had these different periods in that song, like that there was like a groove or a vamp or something that, and then it moved to something else, and then it moved to something else, and that was intriguing to me.
Yeah, it's kind of like little blocks of information, or like
Yeah,
little stepping stones.
yeah.
They're all connected, but they just sort of transition into the next section.
It kind of
Yeah,
reminds me a little bit of Weather Report, how Weather
yeah,
Report did
right,
that, which
right.
was also very appealing to me. It kind of opens up. There's a dynamic motion in that,
Mhm.
and it opens your space up, as the listener.
I love that. Yeah, yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. Yeah, there's both that way, and then there's the way of motivic development, that
Yeah.
connects things or modulation, whatever. But these bigger blocks are really cool to work with too.
Yeah, that was really good. Sounds
Thank you.
great, man. Um, yeah, Roland is thanking me um, for introducing you to him.
Roland, you're awesome. So
He is awesome.
is Roland on Instagram?
um, just curious, how do you, what do you do in a day? How do you schedule your workload? Do you have something that you do every day the same, or do you kind of, I mean, obviously we work on our priorities, but besides the priorities,
Yeah. Well, if it's not a day where I go to the school,
yeah,
then that has changed a lot because of the pandemic.
yeah.
I mean, there were countless days where I was sitting around doing absolutely nothing. I was recovering from a pretty bad car accident as well
Oh,
last year. So like I had a concussion and stuff.
oh
So,
my God.
oh yeah, there are miserable days. I'd just be sobbing and just
Wow.
like hating life and everything.
Oh
And
my
like,
God, Marlon, I'm so
yeah.
sorry.
It's
Wow.
like, why do I play the bass? Screw
Oh,
that. I don't, and then the next day I'd be like, oh, this is really cool how I found this thing over this
oh,
tune, over these changes. Like in a day it was looking pretty different. But by the time we got to the
wow.
fall
Yeah,
and into the in the fall and into now, I kind of I've spent a lot of I'm spending a lot of time on big band charts. So like either that's going to be my own original music, or that's going to be note input into Sibelius, or
What? I'm sorry. What are you saying? Note input?
oh, I'm just like basically making digital charts, in like my
Oh,
software, like
spending the
Sibelius.
time. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I get it.
So I tend to work best in the afternoons, I
Uh-huh.
think. And
Yeah.
then, but the way I work is like, if I cut out like a lot of time, afternoon into the evening, I can just get it done,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's a little more free form these days, just given that it's been hard for me to stick to one particular schedule since things have been so up and down. But usually I reserve the evenings for like my routine jog that I go to, and then maybe I'll watch a movie or TV or something like that with my wife in the evenings, but the afternoon is usually where I'm working on the charts.
Yeah.
I might be doing
It's
score
interesting,
studying.
isn't it? Yeah. I know
Yeah.
it's I think for musicians, especially, jazz people, I think it's this time period has been intriguing, It's like,
Oh yeah.
oh, what do I feel like right now?
Yes,
Or
that's exactly the
um
feeling.
yeah, and gosh, I really feel for you like going through that that discomfort after your accident and stuff. I just, and that's actually something that I appreciate on these conversations where people actually say, like, one of my questions is what was a setback for you, and a lot of people can't even think of it because
Mm.
they already passed their setback. It was so
Right,
long ago. I mean, everybody has setbacks, right? But
right.
this is much more recent for you, and
Yeah.
it's just so good to know that if you just put your shoes on every day, that you can walk.
Yeah, that's the thing. So day in a life of Marlon is like, look, I can get out of bed. Like this is great. And actually, we've been remodeling, so everything is a bit of a mess in there, but we just shifted things around. Now I have a new workspace, and
Oh,
so it's
cool.
been nice to get back into finding that schedule. So I usually write a list now. It's like the left column will be like all the things that I have to do, and I list up to 6 things only. And then in that day, and if it's more than that, then I'll save it for the next day, and then the other column, the right side, will be all the things that I want to do. And so what I do is I'll set a timer on for only 5 minutes. And in the 5 minutes, I'll pick the first thing that I have to do, whichever one that I decide to start with. I'll set 5 minutes to try to do the best work I can for that subject matter in the 5 minutes. So it just gets my brain to just say, okay, you know what? You just got to sit down and do it. Like, do it now. Boom. You basically count off and you start working. And then when the alarm goes off, then I can spend as much time as I need to get those things done. But it's just kind of more like a kickstart, having the timer there and getting actual like obligations done. And then sometimes I'll switch over to something really fun that I've been wanting to do, right after. Maybe if I get that one thing done and it takes 30 minutes or 45 minutes, great. Then I can go do something really cool. Then I'll take a break. Then I'll set that timer again and I'll do the next important thing that I got to do. So basically by the end of the day, I will have done half or all of the stuff that's on the left column. And then I've also addressed the things that I really want to do on the right column.
You can't be a Gemini, and I'll show you why. Because this is, I mean, I actually have several of these, but these are my lists. So this is like
I've never seen that before.
yeah, because you know why? Because my mind is constantly coming up with ideas, and ideas that I don't actually want to totally forget about.
Mm.
And so I write them down, and I have pages and pages, and from time to time I go through these and I try and you know cut it down. And there are things that fall off of importance or get
Yeah, that's a
done,
lot. That's a
you
lot
know?
like me, I guess, just in a different sense, you know? Like,
Yeah,
I feel like I definitely have a tendency to hyper focus on something.
yeah, yeah.
So it will be whatever my interest is for a very long time. And it will be, who knows? I couldn't even tell you how many months it will be, how many
Mm.
years it will be. Like this Billy
Oh,
Strayhorn project of mine, I started getting into that since 2016. And
oh,
now we're in 2022, and I finally
oh,
have a
wow.
residency built around that, you know? So
Yeah,
that's a hyper focus. So
yeah,
anything else will be either that's an obligation for me, or I just got to do it, or that's a cool idea, I'll do it, but I'm more invested in this one thing, you know, which is also very kind of like leadership
interesting. Yeah,
like mentality, but it's just a brain type thing. I really believe it, like the different brain types, and the neurodivergent brain, the neurotypical brain, and the different things that are out there, the spectrum of thinking, and how people
yeah. Well,
follow
that's why
ideas.
I'm so glad that I finished that little book. It's 52 pages. It took me 15 years
That's great.
because I kept writing stuff down along the same line and teaching. I'm always seeing this idea of it's the same lesson. Come on. And I just had to write it. And I'm not good. Well, I shouldn't say that. I should actually change this thinking, but up till now, little trick I've learned over the years. Up till now, I've been really good at starting and continuing, but not stopping. And so that was for me a personal win just for stopping, like to
Right.
complete the project.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I'm trying to get to that. Well, I want to get to the place where one project actually has a finish line, and it
Yeah.
feels great to get there. But I'm never going to lose the I think the passion to continue it in other ways.
No, no, definitely
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to start a lot of compositions that I don't finish.
Oh,
Yeah, that drives me nuts, but I have learned to just accept that. And that's just
yeah.
kind of the way that my mind tends to work, you know, and
Yeah.
eventually stuff will make sense later, you know, and I can put together tunes.
That's
So,
that's the best. I think that's a really valuable outlook on writing. Writing is not cookie cutter. It is what it is, and you can't stress over it. And Elizabeth Gilbert is an author who wrote the story um, "Eat, Eat, Pray, and Love." You know that it became a
yes.
movie, and when she was younger, she decided that she was going to be a writer, and she committed to herself to write every day, no matter what. So when she starts a new project, she's discovered that first she's very excited, and then right after that, she gets kind of bored or whatever.
Mhm.
But because she writes the next day, she gets she keeps going and she
That's
finishes.
cool.
And so now, whenever she starts a book, she knows that that's going to happen.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
I might follow that pattern actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that sounds really cool. And yeah, I'm learning so much about when to get started. Like when do you jump on the idea when it's there kind of thing. Well, it's that, but it's also how do you keep it going
Yeah.
consistently, and finding how that works for me is it's different. You know, I remember like when I was in school, ideas would kind of like fire off a lot more, and I'd write things down, and I would just kind of like move on. I would finish something and then just like move on to the next tune or whatever, whereas nowadays my tunes develop over like a long period of time,
Yeah.
and I'm always like scratching things out, replacing it with something else, or then just saying, no, actually, I'm going to take the thing that I crossed out. I'm going to just rewrite that. And, like, and then I put it away for like a month or two. Then I
Yeah.
come back, oh, that's exactly what I was trying to do. So I'm like learning so much about that,
That's
and it's
cool.
pandemic's definitely a driving factor, I think.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Really,
Yeah.
in ways, it's really, a great thing, in kind of a more philosophical way, like applied to what we're talking about.
Right.
Well, Marlon, thank you so much for this conversation. I've just enjoyed hearing about you and getting to know you more and your music. And just it's a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Cathy, thank you so much. This is really great. I love this series that you do,
Thanks.
and I'm tuning in more often now. I certainly will. And just thank you for this open space to just talk about things and just let the brain just kind of do its work. You know, you provide that comfortable zone. So I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to collaborate. We got to do something.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah. Boy, I would love that. I would love that. And I have it written down March 27th at Zipper Hall in Los Angeles at 3 o'clock. Marlon's
Yeah.
going to show his Billy Strayhorn.
Yeah,
What is it going to be exactly?
Good question. Great question, because it's shaped. It's gone through different modes. This is a tribute concert, and the Marlonius Jazz Orchestra is going to perform Billy Strayhorn works, lesser known, and a couple of newly discovered pieces that were previously unreleased material.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Lotus Blossom?
Lotus Blossom will not be
Okay.
one of the
Just
tunes,
curious. That's one of my favorite
sadly.
songs.
Yeah, when we talk about Billy, it's like we realize we're talking like someone of, such a prolific legacy that program everything it just would never work. It's
Yeah.
and we're finding so much more about Billy Strayhorn. Really since the 90s, there's been so much groundbreaking research and things, and it's sort of like a water well, and just finding like, oh wow, there's like we found water
Yeah.
or something, and then you're like, there's some great scholars who've done great work, and then I'm kind of continuing that with bringing it to the 21st century audience and younger listeners of Billy Strayhorn, and also keeping big band going as well. So that concert is free, like we said, and the link is if you're on Instagram, the link is in my bio. I feel like I'm one of those like and subscribe, but and then the Colburn School has it on their website as well.
Oh, good. Okay.
You can type in just my name, Marlon Martinez, Amplify Series, and that's where you'll find the ticket information.
I'm just going to write that in the comments, either on Instagram, Instagram.
Oh,
I
you should
I
probably
have
write my
I have a little
channel
trouble on Instagram. Oh, your channel on YouTube?
on Instagram, so that people can find it. My Instagram is Marlonius Music. So you might want to type that down.
Is it Marlonius IUS or iOS? IUS?
IUS. Yeah,
Marlonius
Music.
Music.
Yeah. And then
That's
when people,
the Instagram.
Yeah.
Or go to Colburn
School.
site and look for Marlon and what did you say the name of?
The Amplify Series.
The Amplify Series. Okay, cool.
And also, just because I probably should put that there, you can include my website as well,
Sure.
Which is marlonmartinezmusic.com. You'll find the ticket info there as well.
Oh, good. Okay, great. Gosh.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be there. You'll see me in the audience. And I'm guessing Roland will be there. And Dan probably will be there. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, this is going to be really great. Really, I think a new thing for everybody. It's going to be a really beautiful experience.
Maybe even Leslie will drive down from Bakersfield for that. Seems like a easy drive. Leslie, right? On a Sunday afternoon, maybe. I don't know. You never know.
Probably. But, Wow, cool. So yeah, I look forward to seeing everybody there.
Thank you so much. And just a word about tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Misha Segal will be here, and he's a composer and pianist who's been here from Israel for a long, 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 long time. So that's who my guest is tomorrow. So thank you, Marlon.
Thank you,
Thanks
Cathy.
so much. Really enjoyed it.